This rock's so unforgiving. A year out here is a lifetime of living for a man. Just a cog in some machine, 16 hours taking dust and heat for so little. Quarryman, quarryman. These broken hands have touched the last of better days. Quarryman. Break apart your calloused heart to face another day. Welcome back, Progressive Issues, Michael Veach. I'm not here with my good friend David Menzies. May he rest in peace. We miss him dearly. I'm here to continue the discussion about a shared bike pedestrian path to Bearsville, and a second sidewalk being proposed for in the town of Woodstock here. And I'm doing a lot of research, and I got in my car, burned up some of that expensive gas, and went down to New Paltz and looked at the big project that they did in New Paltz a couple of years ago on Du Bois Lane, I guess it is. And it was a very interesting trip. I stopped in Hurley. There's a rail trail in Hurley also, same kind of deal, the shared bike and pedestrian path. And took some video, which we're going to watch. We're going to see my field trip. But before we get into that, I just want to say that, we had the big meeting last Tuesday night, and a lot of people showed up. And I have to say, by my estimation, probably 3 out of 4 people who showed up were not thrilled with the proposal or the concept. Maybe 25% of the people in the room were clapping. Many of them appeared to be personal friends of some of the Complete Streets people. So I don't know. There were people there I didn't even recognize. I don't even know if they were from town. They could have been brought in from out of town, for all I know. The bottom line is the concept of taking land by eminent domain was a dud. Did not go over, was not popular, will not be popular going forward, and should be abandoned. I think it's an absolutely crummy thing to do to people in Woodstock, especially in this time that we're living in, under so much pressure and stress. To have that additional pressure and stress brought into someone's life is, I just think it's unconscionable. I believe that there was a lot of support for saving trees. I stood out front. I greeted everyone who came to the community center, gave them a handout from the tree committee, and I have to say that I got a very positive response from a vast majority of the people who were attending the meeting. And thank you for your support. It's really important, and going forward. I think that there was some real concerns about the lack of parking. I know there were concerns about the ADA compliance aspect of the whole thing, and the transparency. What happened to Complete Streets was maybe an unforced error on their part. They published a letter in the paper less than 2 weeks before the meeting, saying we're not going to take any eminent domain, and we're only going to cut down 12 trees and blah, all this stuff. I don't have the letter in front of me, but it's in the HV1. And it turns out that their own traffic consultant, a woman named Lindsay Zelting from Saratoga Associates, said point blank, yes, there is going to be eminent domain. And by the way, we made a mistake counting the trees. We counted the trees bigger than 12 inches in diameter, when in fact, everything 8 inches in diameter up is protected by tree law, all the way down 212 going to Bearsville, and all the way up 375 to the town border. So they were, they had this big letter. They've been waging a campaign claiming, I guess, me, against me, because I've been the one talking about this pretty loudly, waging a campaign saying that I was misinforming people and that they had the facts and I had the myths. And they put out this letter and it was completely blown up like 12 days later at the big public meeting by their own consultant. So I did some work. I started looking at Complete Streets. What's their track record around the country? This is a national organization. This has been going on. This was started in 2010 as part of the smart growth movement. And it was started by a bunch of bike enthusiasts, believe it or not. And they added the pedestrians later when they realized they could get more grant money if they had pedestrians included in their planning, right? Very nice of them to do that. And so I looked at their track record, and lo and behold, there's a big article by a lawyer, I believe it is, or a scientist of some sort. I've published it. I've posted it to Facebook. Basically, the headline was, "What went wrong with Complete Streets?" Basically, a lot of what is going wrong here has gone wrong nationally with Complete Streets. The project that they're proposing for Woodstock is way overblown for Woodstock. It's way too big. It's urban. It's a huge taking of private property. Obviously, the environmental damages are considerable, losing all those trees in a floodplain. And their guidelines, or their mission statement is very clear. It says, they're supposed to be paying very close attention to the environment, and they're not supposed to be doing any harm to the environment with their project. I think everybody can agree that bikes need to be able to go up and down the roads safely. The same with pedestrians. But the proposal that Complete Streets has developed is massive. It's huge. It's gigantic. It's 18 feet wide plus another 3 feet of cleared of trees area. So you're talking 21 feet of space. So I went to New Paltz, and a couple of interesting observations which you'll see on the film. One is that this was done in a residential neighborhood. It was not done on a state highway. Okay, that's the difference between New Paltz and Woodstock. Woodstock has a state highway. New Paltz, they did it on a residential street, okay, with a lot of houses, okay? I get it. People need a place to walk. It was probably cheaper to do this than to actually make sidewalks, and I get that part of it too. I understand it. Cement is very expensive to do real cement sidewalks. But what was also interesting was that there's either a tall guardrail separating this path from the street for a good section of it, but there's also these weird plastic cone thingies, which you'll see on the film as well, with reflectors on them. Some of the crosswalks are marked, others are not. But the whole thing basically goes down the hill, from the top of the hill in New Paltz, where you just come off of the throughway, all the way down the hill and lands on 32 down at the bottom. And when you get to the bottom of 32, you'll see on the film, there are two extremely large apartment buildings that just went up, brand new. Now, I can understand that with all of these people moving into this neighborhood in New Paltz for the first time, this is all new housing, okay? I get that they would want to have safe pedestrian and bike access. I get it. I totally understand it. It makes complete sense to me. And, why not? Okay. That's not the case in Bearsville. It's a rural strip. It is state highway. Yes, there are some single-family homes. There are no apartment buildings until you actually get out into Bearsville, and there's a couple of duplexes and maybe a triplex. There are businesses that have to be intersected. They lose their parking. There were no businesses on Du Bois Lane, in New Paltz. No businesses that I could see. It was all residential, all the way down the hill. And yes, they took some trees. They planted a few new little tiny trees, but nothing on the scale that would happen in Bearsville with hundreds of trees being lost. So with that said, the project as proposed for Bearsville is way oversized for what is needed. And I did some research. The DOT themselves, New York State DOT, even has a Complete Streets website where they say very clearly that, yes, the shared bike pedestrian paths are one option, but so is a shoulder that's wide enough on each side of the road for bikes or pedestrians. And we have that between Woodstock and Bearsville. There is enough width, I believe, to, because the state wants 4-foot shoulders. There's enough width to create the shoulders so that the bikes can travel the shoulders. Now, if we need a walking path in addition to that on the north side, I think it would fit without having to take any significant trees. You might maybe possibly be able to get a walking path on the south side, 5 feet wide, without taking the trees. But I would have to look at that myself a little bit more closely. So even the state DOT on their own website, and I will post this to Facebook, they just say very clearly that, a couple of shoulders wide enough for bikes, they're fine with that. We found out at the meeting that Ulster County, Brian Slack said right to my face, said, you want signs for Share the Road? All you need to do is have your supervisor give us a call, and we will come and put up free signs. All it takes is one phone call, and we could start making it safer for bikes immediately. I don't see any reason why we can't do that. So let's get going, all right? Now, I went to Hurley, and Hurley's got a situation that's kind of interesting because they have a side street coming off onto 209, which is a state highway, and there's a crosswalk where the rail trail crosses the side street coming out, and with a crosswalk. And there's a big sign, you'll see it on the film, it says, "Riders must dismount." And then there are big red orange flags. And then there's a big stop sign. And this is on each side of the crossing. And pay attention, because what happens at the end of my little video was completely unexpected. I didn't stage it. Believe me, I did not stage it. Somebody just happened to be coming along and I caught him on film. So you'll see what happens. It looks to me like that particular intersection was the scene of at least one accident, possibly more. So now you've got the big red orange flags, you've got the pedestrian, bike riders must dismount, no motorized vehicles, okay? We're back to the situation with our bike lanes here in Woodstock. just so you know, if you have an e-bike, you're still going to have to ride in the road. And we also learned Tuesday night at the meeting that, well, most bike riders will probably want to ride in the road. That was their response when somebody brought up the issue of, won't pedestrians be in more danger from getting hit by somebody on a bike if they're sharing a 10-foot path? Again, the answer was, well, most of the bikes will be in the road. Okay, so we're back to bikes in the road. Look, let's get back to the drawing board. Let's create some sort of new plan that makes a lot more sense, both physically, environmentally, financially, and for the, preserving the integrity and the history and the character of our community here in Woodstock. We're a tourist community. People come here because they like the way it looks. It doesn't look like where they come from, okay? That's why they come here. And if it starts to begin to look like what they just came from, guess what? Some of those tourists aren't going to come anymore. They're going to go to somewhere else, like Delhi, where, I don't know if you've been to Delhi lately, but what a beautiful community. Historic. They've done a lot of work preserving it. Everything is like really, top notch, beautiful. I'm just tossing it out there, I mean, I think we could do better here in Woodstock, preserving our character. And the street trees are a big part of preserving that character. So enjoy the video. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to go on and on forever and ever. We'll do another video as our situation progresses here. But once again, thank you all for coming out to that dreadful DOT Complete Streets meeting. I mean, it was a standing room only. Good questions were asked. And even if we did have to put them on the little index cards. Oh, and they finally had maps rolled out in the back room. Of course they were in the back room. And you had to go back and walk around and look at the maps. I took photos of them with my phone, scans, and I'm going to try to start putting some of those together for you, because as far as I know, Complete Streets is still not published or posted anywhere copies of these plans. I don't know why not, but hey, sooner the better. Get them up there. Let's be talking about this thing, because they put in an application for a big grant. Of course, they waited until 2 weeks after the public comment period was over for the grant application to actually have a public meeting, but that's another thing. That goes to the issue of transparency, which we could spend a whole show talking about the lack of transparency on the part of Complete Streets. So thank you again for tuning in, and keep those cards and letters coming. I understand there's a petition going around online. You may want to take a look at that and sign it. We want to save the trees. Let's save the trees. Okay. Peace. Talk to you later. Okay, here I am at Du Bois, and we're looking at the shared bike pedestrian path. Notice the guardrails. This is probably what it'll end up looking like in Woodstock if this is up to code for DOT. I can just see that this is going to really change the character of the corridor between the Green and Bearsville to have something like this added on. I'm going to measure it in a minute, but here's an intersection with no crosswalk. I'm not quite sure why the one in Hurley had a crosswalk at the intersection, but this one does not. And as you can see, they've just basically put up a guardrail all the way. We got lots of signs now. There's an intersection down here, kind of looks like maybe a Four Corners or something like that. And we got all this new signage, bikes, pedestrians ahead. Yes, it's a crosswalk. It looks like it's raised. People are going over a hump. All right, so it's a raised. Here's a couple of new little trees that they've planted. That looks like it's going to be about 50 years before those actually come back. The large trees that were here are gone. They've been removed. So, look, this is real, okay? This is exactly what Complete Streets is proposing to do, and it is a really, really big deal, okay? I'm not so sure that people in Woodstock actually realize what this thing is going to look like, but this is it. Okay, just one last thing. I measured from the guardrail to the edge, and it's 11 feet, okay? So that's it. Geez, I'm going to drive down and see how far this thing goes. Okay, here we are. We're still on Du Bois, and as you can see, no longer is there metal guardrail. There are these weird plastic thingies, and there's a curb. So we're at a crosswalk. I don't see any signs telling bicyclists to dismount. Maybe there are, I don't know. We'll see. But if people are biking on this thing, they in Hurley they have to dismount when they get to an intersection. Speed limit here 30 miles an hour. Big, pedestrian crossing signs and stuff. So anyway, and look how wide this thing is. I mean, they took quite a few trees to create this path. It's it's I don't know, a couple miles long or something like that. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to drive all the way down, see how far it goes. Probably right into town. Okay, here's a sidewalk, walking path on the side of the main road coming out of New Paltz. And, we're very close to the Du Bois shared bike walking path. And there's some very seriously big and new housing going up down here, which I mean, this is all new to me. I haven't seen this in a long time. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's the plan for Woodstock. I don't know. First comes the shared trail, and then comes like massive housing. Maybe that's the plan for the corridor, to completely obliterate the rural character. I don't know. But this is New Paltz. This is what they've done. I agree we need affordable housing. But somehow this particular style of affordable housing seems very out of character for the town of Woodstock. Okay, I'm here in Hurley at the rail trail, and it's 10-foot wide paved trail that apparently follows where the railroad went a long time ago. But you'll notice that there are a lot of red flags and cones, and there's also a big stop sign here at the intersection. I'm not quite sure the name of this street. Big sign that says dismount before crossing road, and there's a crosswalk. Now, what this all signifies is that when you are riding a bicycle on one of these trails, you are forced to walk your bike across crosswalks at intersections. That's state law. You have the right of way if you are a pedestrian, but you do not have the right of way if you are on a bike in a crosswalk. This is a scene of a possible accident, which is why they've got it all completely flagged and everything. As you can see, this bicyclist did not dismount. but fortunately no one was coming. And, I don't know, the whole thing just, I'm not quite so sure that Woodstock is ready for something like that.